so let's check our answers. Test is tomorrow. So 1 through 4, you are writing each expression using exponents. So make sure you have those exponents. So your base is that 2, and then however many 2's you have, that's your exponent. So you should have 2 to the 5th times 5 to the 3rd. If you didn't put a multiplication sign there, you just put them right next to each other, that's fine. Or if you put them in parentheses, any of that. Okay. Number 2, you should have 9 of those x's, so x to the 9th power. Number 3 was a little tricky. But think about this. C minus D is one number, right? If you plugged in a number for C and a number for D, you would have to subtract them before you put it to a power, right? Which would give you one number. So say that C was 2 and D was 1. So 2 minus 1 would give you 1, which is a number. Just like up here, I have 2 is a number. 2 is a number. 2 is a number, right? So C minus D is one number. C minus D is one number. So how many of those numbers do I have? How many C minus D's do I have? 2. So your base is C minus D, and then it's raised to the second exponent. Okay. Does that make sense for everybody? Okay. Number 4, you have 1 7, so that's 7 to the 1st power times f to the 4th power times g to the 1st power. All right, moving on to using our order of operations. So we'll check this first column, and then I'll move it over. So number 5, you should have divided before you added, so you should get 24. Number 7, you got to do those parentheses and then multiply, so 36. Number 9, you have a few more steps. Remember, you want to work everything from the inside out, so you want to get everything inside those parentheses first. So 2 cubed, which is 8. 8 minus 6 would give you 2. And then you can't forget about that little exponent out front, or outside of it. So 2 to the 4th power, or 2 to the 2nd power, sorry, which gives you 4. And then you still have that 7 minus 4, and then minus 1 on the outside of the bracket. So 7 minus 4 first gives you 3. 3 minus 1 gives you your answer of 2. We all get that? Okay. Number 11 and 13, we should know from our test yesterday. So that is 17 and 361. By the way, I did get those tests entered in. So if you want to check your grades tonight when you get home, you can see what you made. For the most part, we all did really, really well. 15, you want to make sure that you do that exponent and those parentheses first. So you should have a final answer of 29. Any questions on that one? Can I scoot it over? Are we done checking those 5 through 15? Okay. Okay, number 6, parentheses and then divide, so you should get 3. Number 8, you should get 20. So you want to do those parentheses first, so 5 minus 4, then multiply 2, and then add that to 3 times 6. Number 10, 3 to the 4th power. Remember that means 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, okay? Don't ever, ever, ever multiply that base times your exponent. So never do 3 times 4, because that is always wrong. Okay? You've got to remember that means you're multiplying it however many times your exponent is. Okay? So that should be 81. Number 12 should be 18. Number 14, you should have gotten 80. So there's quite a few steps there as well. Do we have any questions about that one? Yes, ma'am.
On number 8, I got 36.
You got 36. So, did you do your 2 squared first? And you got 4? So then that means you had 5 minus 4 inside your parentheses. So that should give you 1. So then 2 times 1 gives you 2. And then you have 3 times 6, which is 18. So you should have 2 plus 18, which gives you 20. Do you see where you messed up? Okay. That's why it's important that you show all your work on your paper too. So when you see that you got something wrong, you can compare all of your steps to my steps, and you should be able to see what you did wrong. Yes, sir. Number 14, you got 30. Okay, so look at your steps. Square root of 16 should have given you 4. So you should have had 4 plus 8 inside those parentheses. So then that should have been 12 squared, which is 144. Do we have that so far? Okay, so then you had to evaluate square root of 81, so you should have 144 divided by 9. So that should give you 16. And then you have to multiply by that 5, which is outside of everything. So 16 times 5 should give you 80. Did you add? Or
I put 6 instead of 16.
Oh, yep. That'll give you 30 for sure. Any other questions on those? Good. Also, on your test, if you gave me all of these steps, but your answer was slightly off, or if you made a small mistake on the inside, but everything else matched, do you think I'm going to count it all wrong? No. Yeah, I'll give you more room. No, so that's why it's important that you show your work. If I can see that you know exactly what steps to take, you just made a small calculation error, I will give you some of your points, okay? So please make sure you're showing your work on your test tomorrow. All right, number 17, you are choosing the expression that will not work. So he's charging $50 for the first 3 hours, and then he's charging $24.95 for each additional hours. So if he's $50 for the first 3 hours, he's playing total 7 hours, so 4 hours he's charging $24.95. So B would not work. 7 times 50 plus $24.95 would not be the correct price. But A, C, and D would all work because you've got 4 hours at that price plus 3 hours at your $50. Or down here, you're adding the 53 times and so forth. Did we all get that one? Okay. Number 18, you were asked to explain the steps. If you didn't write it in words, that's fine as long as you wrote it out each step vertically, so I could see each little step that you made. Okay, so your first step should have been subtracting 2 from 6, which would give you 4. And then your second step would be to divide that 4 by 4. So 4 divided by 4 gives you 1. And then 12 minus 1, which would give you 11. And then finally multiply that 7 by that 11. So your answer should be 77. Okay. So as long as you worked it out in the correct steps and I could see each step, you're good. Okay, now you are translating into an algebraic expression. Let's see if that's better. So number 19 says 2 more than K. So more than means you're adding. That than is actually one of those turnaround words. So remember, you need to flip it. But if you don't flip it, I will take that as well because you're adding. So 2 plus K or K plus 2, I will take either one of those because technically it's the same. Okay. 21 twice J, that would be 2 times J. Yes?
Is it fine if we put the multiplication sign?
Yeah. If you wrote everything differently, as long as it still means 2 times J, I'm fine with that. So a multiplication sign, or if you put them in parentheses, if you did a little dot, any of that is fine, as long as it still means the same thing. 23, M less than 8. So that less than says you have to switch the order. So it has to be 8 minus M. If you gave me M minus 8, that is completely wrong. Okay, so remember the less than is when it really, really matters that you switch it. And then 25, quotient of P and 5, P divided by 5. Good on those? Number 20 should be 4 plus 8M or 8M plus 4. Either of those two. 22. 12 subtracted from the sum of 29 and C. So sum of 29 and C is 29 plus C. But remember, those turnaround words were than and from, right? So since it says subtracted from, you got to flip that order again. So 12 has to come at the end. And then number 24, quotient of 20 and the product of 10 times a number. So it should be 20 divided by 10n, or whatever variable you chose. Good? Okay. 26 through 35, you are substituting. So you're plugging those numbers that they gave you in and solving. So number 26, you should get 36. Number 28 is 76. Number 30, 17. Number 32 is 24. And then number 34 is 1. Questions on any of those? So you're just plugging them in and using those order of operations. 27 through 35. We can see that. 27 is 28. 29 is 8. 31 is 92. 33 is 2 and 4/15. And 35 should be 48. Questions on any of those? Okay. Number 36. All I did was change where those parentheses were. So first they were around 3 and 6. Then they were around 6 and 4. So that is your associative property of multiplication. Make sure that you tell me what property it is of on the test tomorrow. Tell me if it's of multiplication or if it's of addition. Okay. And number 37, that is your identity property of addition. Number 38, you're using your distributive property to rewrite an equivalent expression and evaluate it. So your equivalent expression should be 2 times 5 plus 2 times 3. And then once you evaluate that, you should get 16. Good? Questions on any of that front side? Any that I need to go back and look at? Good? Okay, flipping over. I do not have the problems back here. I just have my answers. So number 39, I think it said, well, wait, somebody read it. Can you read it for me, Aiden, so it'll pick up?
Give an algebraic expression for the verbal phrase, the product of 4.5 and the difference of 6 and a number.
Thank you. So the product of 4.5 and the difference of 6 and a number. So the difference of 6 and a number would be 6 minus n, and then the product of that means you're multiplying it by 4.5. Are those parentheses important? Yes. If you don't put those parentheses there, then it doesn't mean the same thing. Because without the parentheses, you would think to multiply the 4.5 times 6 first and then subtract. But that's not the case. They want you to subtract first and then multiply. So you have to put that in parentheses. Okay. Number 40 was that 0 property. So remember, anytime you have a number times 0, that always gives you a 0. That is your 0 property. Okay. Not the identity. 41, associative property of multiplication. Number 42, I think that was square root of 144, which is 12. And then, can I see your paper right there? Number 43, you want to find what mistake was made. So, looking right here, what did he do that is wrong? Shelby.
So the fourth power, he multiplied 10 times 4 instead of doing 10 4 times.
Good. He multiplied the base times the exponent, which is what we should never do. So you got to remember that means 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. Okay. Everything else he did correctly, but he did not evaluate that 10 to the 4th power correctly. Okay. Thank you. Any questions on that study guide? All right. I have another review sheet for you to work on today.